It all began with a simple scene. A young family on a quiet street in Frederick, Colorado. Everything looked normal. A husband, a wife, and 2 small daughters living a safe, predictable life. Trust usually breaks with noise and big fights, but this failure was quiet. The husband, Chris Watts, kept his voice calm and his actions steady, even as his life fell apart inside. This calm face was the first confusing part. Safety often looks ordinary, but the biggest lies hide in plain sight, protected by how normal everything seems. The marriage looked stable because they told the world it was, right up until the pressure was too much and everything broke silently. The lie did not start with one huge event, but with a number of small things that together twisted the truth. Shanann Watts kept posting videos of their daughters, Bella and Celeste, keeping up a public image of a happy life, even as private debts grew. Court papers show the family went bankrupt in 2015, which confirmed a long period of money problems hidden by a bright public tone. Chris made his first big mistake when he told a co-worker, Nicole Kessinger, that he was already separated from his wife. That claim was a clear lie, told often, and it became the necessary first step that allowed him to imagine a new life while his real life was still tied to his family. The tight spot created by the rising debt, while not the cause of the violence, added the emotional strain that led him to remove his burdens instead of fixing them. The money stress forced them to keep up a perfect public appearance, the clean house, the constant social media posts, to cover the private weight. This created a huge space where real warmth used to be. The controlled appearance lasted, but it covered a desperate need to escape the duties of family and debt. He chose to destroy the problems rather than solve them. The lie about being separated made his planned absence look normal instead of suspicious. Shanann, who was pregnant, came home from a business trip very early on Monday, August 13th, 2018. Chris's first story set up his cover. He claimed she got home around 2 a.m., he saw her briefly, and then he left early for work, leaving them asleep. Later, he would claim they were just gone when he got back, suggesting they left by choice and needed no explanation. This story completely flipped the truth, asking police and everyone else to believe a sudden disappearance without a clear reason, creating a false record that went against the physical facts of the home. The friend, Nicole Atkinson, was the first person to realize something was wrong. She had dropped Shanann off at 1:48 a.m., confirming when the family was last seen minutes before the crime. It was Nicole, not Chris, who called the police when Shanann missed a doctor's appointment. This action showed a simple truth. The most sensible check sometimes comes from the person who is not tangled up in the family's emotions. Chris claimed they left, but Nicole pointed out that the car was still there, which immediately broke his passive story of a simple walk-off. The quick feeling of doubt set the path for the entire investigation, turning a missing persons case into a criminal one in hours. Chris Watts reported them missing at 1:40 p.m. that Monday, which was a necessary part of his act as the worried husband. But his performance failed instantly because he was too calm. He told Nicole he was trying to save his marriage, which did not make sense alongside his action of leaving early that morning without checking on his wife. This specific logical error, wanting to save something he clearly ignored, became the subtle flaw that police looked for. When police entered the house, it confirmed that order was used to hide the crime. They found Shanann's phone on a shelf, her wallet on the kitchen counter, and her car parked in the garage. There was no sign of a fight, no forced entry, and nothing was moved that showed a sudden, violent event. The scene fully supported Chris's lie of an unforced exit, but leaving the phone and wallet made no sense for a person leaving suddenly. No one planning to leave their life would purposely leave behind their communication and money. The neatness of the crime scene suggested a careful mind working to wipe away any visible sign of a struggle. The choice to move the bodies was the second mistake, changing the crime into a problem of moving things. Chris Watts drove his wife and daughters to his workplace, an oil field owned by Anadarko Petroleum. He chose this spot because he knew it well, a place where his presence was expected and he felt in control. The mistake was thinking his routine offered him security. Using a familiar work site for a massive crime meant security cameras, timesheets, and co-worker statements would all work together to expose his lie. The pressure of his relationship with Nicole Kessinger further limited his time. He had already promised her a future without his family, which pressured him to finish the separation he had started with violence. His calls and texts to Nicole during the search had to reflect a man who was tragically free but burdened by a mystery. This forced him to constantly lie, making sure every message and conversation with the search teams matched the story of the missing family. His public show of grief was the most shocking way he flipped the truth. Chris Watts gave an interview to a news station, asking for his family's safe return. The images were cold, his eyes were dry, his voice was steady, and his face was unnervingly smooth and controlled. This was a man going through the motions, not suffering a loss. This clear lack of real emotion became the main reason people felt sick, confirming to sharp observers that his show of grief was meant to cover the fact that he felt none. The seriousness of his actions was not just the murders, but his calculated attempt to deny the victims' final moments. By putting his daughters' bodies into separate oil storage tanks and burying Shanann nearby, he tried to physically separate the evidence, making it hard to find and confirm what happened. This showed a pattern in moral failure, trying to avoid consequences by destroying evidence, hoping to prevent the truth from having a physical anchor. The quick failure of his deception showed that his hidden plan could not stand up to outside checks. Less than 48 hours after the murders, Chris Watts agreed to a lie detector test. He still claimed he was innocent during the test. The result was clear: deception detected. This finding, based on his body's reactions, forced the hidden truth out, proving that his calm face could not hide his involuntary physical response to a major lie. Faced with the objective proof of his lie, Chris Watts broke his story, giving a first, partial confession meant to lessen his guilt. He admitted to killing Shanann, but immediately blamed her for the girls' deaths. He claimed she killed the children first, and his action was a reaction, a moment of rage where he killed her in return. This mental move, making up a story of revenge, is common in moral collapses, trying to turn a planned act of murder into a sudden, justified response to a tragedy. This initial, weak confession exposed a second, deeper individual mistake. He could not keep his story straight under pressure. Police wondered why a man claiming to be a victim of a sudden, brutal discovery would then have the presence of mind to carefully load 3 bodies and drive them for hours to a specific place to hide them. The story of sudden rage did not fit the detailed, planned steps of the aftermath. This contradiction proved that the crime was driven by cold, fixed purpose, not emotion. The environment of the oil field worked as the final physical control that guaranteed the truth would be found. The Anadarko Petroleum site was not an empty space, but a controlled industrial area with regular checks, security, and heavy machinery. The choice to use oil tanks, large, noticeable structures, for hiding the bodies, showed a poor sense of risk. Their size seemed to offer security, but their visibility and function made them the exact place police would look, making discovery sure to happen. The complete truth finally flipped his first lie entirely. Chris Watts admitted he was not separated, and his motive was not revenge, but the deliberate removal of problems to clear the way for his new life with his co-worker. The murder of Shanann happened after she found out about the affair, confirming the violence was started by the fear of being exposed, not a sudden family tragedy. This change showed a simple, structural motive: to wipe out debt and family in one move, giving himself the freedom he had falsely promised another woman. The moral weight of his final revealed plan gave a cold look into his self-interest. Hiding his children in the tanks was not an act of final anger, but a frightening act of efficiency. The victims were changed from loved family members into physical obstacles that needed to be removed, showing the deep moral break that happens when self-interest overrules the strongest human bonds. This pattern shows that when escape is the highest goal, the humanity of others just becomes a factor in a calculation of cost and gain. The fact that the pattern did not end with his sentencing showed the ongoing risk for the public. The logic he used, that freedom could be gained by removing complexity, is a hidden motive that continues in domestic conflicts. The case forces us to face the fact that danger can look completely normal, and the biggest sign of future tragedy is often the failure to notice when someone's emotions do not match the moment. The pattern remains, repeating quietly in relationships everywhere that intuition is ignored.